Hey everyone, it's Nikki and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my very first ball jointed doll and why it has taken me 12 years to actually get her to be presentable. So first of all, what is a ball jointed doll? A ball jointed doll, it depends on who you ask, but there's generally one preferred definition, which is a doll that is made out of polyurethane resin, has ball joints, hence ball jointed doll, and is strung with elastic. These dolls have existed for a long time, but when people mostly say ball jointed doll, they mean Asian ball jointed doll. There's a bunch of companies in China, South Korea, and Japan that produce these dolls, but Asian ball jointed doll is not necessarily synonymous with ball jointed doll. There are European and North American manufacturers and artists, but generally speaking, most people are referring to Asian dolls. It also sometimes refers to vinyl dolls that have an internal skeleton, such as Dolphy Dreams or Smart Dolls, but some people who collect BJDs don't consider those real BJDs, and in recent years, the term MJD, or mechanical jointed doll, has kind of arisen to differentiate those types of BJDs from the traditional resin ones. So I got into BJDs a long time ago, actually, speaking of Smart Doll, through Danny Chu's blog where he talked about Dolphy Dreams, and I just thought they were super cool. I loved the anime proportions of them, and after I got into Dolphy Dreams, I later found out about Super Dolphy and then fell down the rabbit hole of resin ball jointed dolls. So what initially got me into this hobby was Super Dolphy or Mini Super Dolphy SD, MSD size, or 1/3 scale and 1/4 scale dolls, which 1/3 scale dolls are around 2 feet tall, 60 centimeters and up, and 1/3 dolls or MSD are around 40 to 50 centimeters, so more like 18-inch dolls, basically the same size as American Girl dolls, but with adult or kind of teenage proportions as opposed to child proportions. But when I wanted to get my first doll, there were two considerations I had. One, I'm 14, so I don't really have that much money, and the SD and MSD size dolls, whether you're talking MJD or resin BJD, they're several $100s at the bare minimum. So that was a factor. And number two, my primary doll collection at this time was and still is Living Dead dolls, which are a really cool brand if you're not familiar with them. But Living Dead dolls are 11 inches tall, or 10.5 inches, I believe. And they have childlike proportions, so in my mind I was like, okay, it would be cool to have a ball jointed doll that was about the same size and proportions as my Living Dead dolls, which meant that I was looking at YOSD dolls, or 1/6 scale. Well, YOSDs are 1/6 scale, but they're not the same 1/6 scale as Barbie. Barbie is 1/6 scale, but adult proportions, whereas YOSDs are child proportions. So all that is to say, I found the doll that I ended up getting, which was the Imple doll Greta. Now, Greta was not my first choice in ball jointed doll. My dream YOSD doll, to this day still, is the Fairyland Raleigh. I just think she is so cute. I love her little face. I love Fairyland dolls in general, but just something about Raleigh's face just really spoke to me. But several $100s, I think probably like $300 to $400 for a blank set, whereas Greta was a reasonable $140. And even though I wasn't a huge fan of her face, I did like the Imple doll body. And for whatever reason with the Imple doll babies, a lot of them came with kind of fantasy parts. And so she came with these chicken parts that I thought were kind of fun. Lord knows why, but anyway. So I got her for Christmas when I was 14 years old. I don't believe she was a Christmas gift though. I'm pretty sure I paid for her with my own limited funds as a 14-year-old, and I was super excited. And then the terror of having this blank doll that I had to paint was kind of dawning on me for the first time, and the anxiety of doing a bad face up, even though this was, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty cheap doll, so if I messed up, it wasn't the end of the world and I could just redo it. And I know that sounds insane, saying a doll that's like $140 is cheap, but look at BJD prices, this is definitely towards the lower end of the scale. So I had the anxiety about giving her a face up. I ordered all this stuff, some of which was for her, and some of which was for prospective future BJDs that I would get, and my tastes as a 14-year-old were just interesting to say the least. I got her this blue turquoise wig, which is a pretty wig, but I don't know what color story I was going for with her outfits. It didn't match any of the clothing I got her, or really the vibe that I had in mind for her. Yeah, don't know what that was about. And to add insult to injury, I didn't buy any extra elastics. I'm like, oh, I'm getting this doll, I'm not gonna have to restring her for a long time. And then the elastic in her arms broke. And for whatever reason, I guess just due to depression, executive dysfunction, anxiety, who knows what, I did not order any replacement elastic. And so she sat on my shelf with one arm still intact, held together by the elastic that hadn't broken, and one arm in pieces sitting in a bag with the rest of her extra parts. And I never painted her, never did anything with her. But a couple of months ago, I was talking with one of my friends, and we were just talking about hobbies and stuff, and I brought up that I like collected dolls, but I hadn't really been involved in the hobby in a long time, even though I still have my doll collection. I hadn't gotten any new dolls or really been kind of up to date with what was happening in the community. And this conversation sparked an interest in reviving my interest in ball jointed dolls. And so I set out to find her because I had moved, so she was in storage somewhere. So I set out to find her and all her parts, set out to find all the clothing and accessories that I'd bought for her and all the stuff for doll maintenance. And then I decided to embark on a restoration project for my imple doll Greta, whose name is Esther, by the way. I don't think I said that. So the concept I had for Esther's restoration was to make her outfits, clothing, makeup, etc. inspired by the Sea Bright chicken, specifically the silver one, not the red one. Sea Bright chickens are a kind of fancy chicken. I just love the way that their feathers look like lace, and I thought that would be a really cool inspiration, even if I don't end up using the chicken parts for her very often, which I probably won't. I'll probably keep her in human form most of the time. So I set out to get her basically a bunch of grayscale stuff with a hint of red. I initially wanted to give her kind of a gothic makeup look to kind of go with the black and white color scheme, but I instead opted to give her a more ruddy, reddish makeup look that was more natural looking because A, she's a child, so sometimes very dramatic makeup on like little kid dolls just looks kind of weird, it doesn't fit them, and B, I wanted to have experience for future face-ups I did for other dolls that were more natural looking. I hope you enjoy. Take a look at what I created. So here she is in her current state. As you can see, her arms are in two pieces. This arm, you can see where the elastic snapped, and this arm is disassembled. I just have all the parts laying next to each other so I know they're all there. Here's her head. I haven't taken her eyes out yet, but as you can see, she's blank. And here's her body, along with all of her extra parts, her little chicken legs and her chicken hands, and her little chicken tail. It has a magnet that attaches to her butt. And here is her restrung body. Now, I think I strung her arms a little bit too tightly. She's a little kicky, but I would rather her arms be too tight and then loosen over time as opposed to being too loose right out the bat. Who knows, maybe I'll change my mind and restring them, but she has arms now, let's go. And yeah, just the rest of her regular body. So here are all the supplies I've got ready for Esther's face up. Starting over here, we just got some cleaning stuff. So some off-brand Mr. Clean Magic erasers, isopropyl alcohol in case I hate the face up, cotton swabs, again, if I need to remove any small details. Got some Mr. Super Clear to seal. Have some eyelashes. I'm not sure if I'm going to be using these, but you know, they're good to have. Some Tamiya X22 acrylic paint for gloss, some little detail brushes, some black and white gouache. I know I'm going to use the black gouache for her eyeliner, but I'm not sure if we're going to use the white gouache, but you know, just in case. A couple of Rembrandt pastels, some Prismacolor watercolor pencils. I also have these other pastels. These ones are interesting. They're like pastel pencils. Not sure if I'm going to use these, but I have them in case I want to use any of these shades. Some gloves to keep my hands clean and prevent my hands' oils from getting on her. And some makeup brushes to apply the pastels. Here are some still photos of my face-up process. It went pretty well, I would say, in the grand scheme of things. I think she came out looking all right. I definitely had a bit of trouble with the watercolor pencils. I feel like I see people draw the creases with the watercolor pencils, but I was really having trouble kind of blending it out underneath the pastel layers. And also I was having trouble with the gouache. For whatever reason, the gouache was not painting. It was very like patchy. And I don't know if that was the brushes or if the gouache was too dry. I was using it mostly straight from the tube. But yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with gouache, especially not using it opaquely. I mostly use it watered down, similar to watercolors, and I've never used it on plastic as opposed to paper, so it was a whole new experience. I did kind of accidentally get a nice effect with her eyebrows and eyelashes because I couldn't get the nice smooth lines that I see for fine lines for brows and eyelashes. I instead got more of like a dry brushing effect, which was completely unintentional, but it ended up looking especially good in her eyebrows, and it looks okay for her bottom lashes. I didn't end up giving her fake eyelashes. I may do that in the future, but for the time being, she's eyelashless. I just think the eyelashes I have right now, first of all, are too big. I could cut them down to size, but I think she looks fine without it. So yeah, my first ever face up. I think overall it was a success. So now that I finished her face up, I'm trying to decide which eyes I want to give her. And I'm actually kind of leaning towards the black. I know they're just plain black eyes, but there's something cute about them. And here she is, all assembled. You can really tell the difference between her skin color with the makeup on and the skin color of her body. You can just look at her head here. I don't know how she wound up so much pinker, but hopefully it'll blend in more when she's got clothing on. If not, I might actually blush her body. But for now, this is what she looks like. I did wind up blushing her hands. I think I went a little bit overboard. You can see a picture of them here. But I did not blush the rest of her body. I also blushed her chicken parts, but I don't like how they came out, so you will not be seeing them. Maybe I'll redo them at some point in the future and she can live up to her chickeny glory. But for the time being, she will be using her human parts. I blushed her hands after I filmed her in some outfits because I realized that her hands just looked kind of blank. So I blushed them, but I'm not going to blush the rest of her body because she's mostly going to be covered in clothes, so I don't want the blushing to rub off on her clothes. All right, here is the first wig, and I'm actually kind of surprised because I thought going in that this would be one of my favorite wigs, and I don't know, it's not. I think it's really cute, don't get me wrong, and it's kind of exactly what was advertised. It just, I don't think it suits Esther's character like I thought it would. It's cute, but I think she's just a little bit more free-spirited, so I think the long wigs with just the hair down looks better. And I also think the pure white color, again, it's what I ordered, it's what I wanted when I bought it, but I just don't think it goes with her outfits as well as I thought it would. But still a really cute wig. We'll definitely find a home on another doll someday, I am sure. And here's the second wig. I like this one a lot, but not quite as much as I thought I would. I really love the wavy texture. I love the bangs, although they're a little bit long. I'll probably have to trim them a little bit, which I'm nervous about. but I love the way it cascades down her back. And yeah, I guess it's just not really the color I wanted. Maybe I wanted more of an off-white or even a light gray. I mean, it's white, it's what was advertised, but just looking at this wig with the outfit she has, it's not quite what I wanted, but I still like it a lot. And here's the final wig. It's definitely my favorite of the three. I just love this dark gray to light gray ombre, and it's just almost exactly what I pictured in my head as I was looking for wigs for her. So yeah, this one's definitely the winner, although I like the other one as well. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of getting this little girl all dolled up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!